All of a sudden, a major smear campaign have started against Mali and Burkina Faso in particular. Mali and Burkina Faso. All the Western media houses have regenerated and restarted their campaign. I don't know. They thought we are sleeping or what?
That's ultimately their choice. We think that would be dumb, but that's their choice.
Mr. Vice President.
Okay. Lebanon was a part of the ceasefire. JD Vance, you guys, as much as we all want Trump removed, we have to keep our focus on how diabolical and what a prostitute JD Vance.
Hello guys, I actually don't know where to start today because the ceasefire is actually blown out by Trump. Or should I say by the president of the divided states, who is really not the president of the divided states, because he's a president of another country that we don't want to mention, but he's really the one running the shots, or calling the shots, they say. Yeah, welcome to the Sahel Revolution. Okay, so today we have two topics. We are talking about the ceasefire that I made a video before, I think yesterday, about the ceasefire. Obviously, we were celebrating because at least we're not heading for World War III again, or so we thought. And then the smear campaign has started again in the Sahel. So there's a smear against the Malian president and the president of Burkina Faso. Obviously, they call them junta, but these are actually presidents of those countries. The citizens has accepted them, and so did we. So we're not going to listen to those nonsense BS news about, oh, the junta did this, the junta did this, blah, 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 blah. Anyway. Yeah, so the smear campaign has started, so let's just listen to this video quickly and then we can talk about it.
All of a sudden, a major smear campaign have started against Mali and Burkina Faso in particular. Mali and Burkina Faso. All the Western media houses have regenerated and restarted their campaign. I don't know. They thought we are sleeping or what? They started a campaign, BBC, CNN, France 24, Al Jazeera also reported it. So the whole thing was put out by Human Rights Watch. You know, I spoke a lot about this Human Rights Watch here, right? I told you a lot about it, how they are connected to these NGOs, and even the Chief of Defense of Nigeria exposed these NGOs. You understand? So I told you, I explained how these guys are connected. They've started a major campaign. They've restarted, let me put it that way, a major campaign of trying to say that the military of Burkina Faso and Mali, they are unaliving their civilians. They have unalived more civilians more than the T people have unalived civilians. Can you imagine that? And all of them started one day, they just brought it out. All the media, that's it on the screen. All of them. Then you ask yourself, why by this time? I'll tell you why. Why by this time? Who published this? Human Rights Watch. Why are they carrying it out? And why all of them? It is collaboration. It is collective agenda. Now, why did they remove Niger out of the equation? I'll tell you why. Ibrahim Traoré is about to trend, especially on the Francophone chat, because he was granted an interview. All right, we are going to talk about that, but let me put that aside, and I will explain to you why Niger is put aside. The target is Mali and Burkina Faso. Don't think that Niger is being taken out. No, Niger is being handled by European Union Parliament. This thing is bigger than the headline you are seeing. Where were you in Tanzania, where this thing happened? We didn't see you in action, where civilians lost their life. Where were you in the conversation? I mean, in Cameroon, a lot of people die. Where were you? You were nowhere to be found in the conversation. This is not the first time Human Rights Watch is doing this. And I told you about this Human Rights Watch. This is one of the reasons why I never supported Bobby Wine. Bobby Wine is supported by this group. They back Bobby Wine like nobody's business. When they started this campaign, recently also, they launched a documentary by the same group. They kicked them out of Burkina Faso. Kick their, NGOs out of Burkina Faso, Niger.
Okay, so as you have listened to that, obviously you will agree that they have started the smear campaign again. Now, I need to tell you why it's important to know what the reason is behind the smear campaign. Because they just don't do it just for the sake of like, oh, we're smearing those leaders. No. It's actually very calculated, because that's actually what they did with Gaddafi. First of all, they paint the leader as like he's a dictator, or he's doing this, he's unaliving people, and so on. And then obviously, as you all know, NATO ended up bombing Libya for 7 months.
Gaddafi was alive, 100% I would interview Gaddafi. Do you ever hear Russell Crowe talk about Gaddafi? We talked about why they wanted to get rid of Gaddafi. Like, well, they talked about how evil Gaddafi was and how he subjugated his people. Here it is.
So we are taught, for example, to regard Gaddafi in a certain way, okay? But if you look into what happened in his country while he was the leader, you look into the fact that every person is given a house at a certain age. You look at the fact that everybody's education and health care is free. You look at if somebody showed a particular talent for something that required further education overseas, all of the costs of that were paid for by the government. Now, these are all things put in place by the same country's leader that we're told is evil and corrupt.
Yeah.
So it doesn't quite balance.
There are moments in the relationship between the West and Africa we can now look back on and call destabilization. Patrice Lumumba, Kwame Nkrumah, and Gaddafi, all sitting safely in the past, where figures like Joe Rogan and Russell Crowe can finally say publicly, hey, maybe that was suspicious, maybe that was wrong, maybe the West got it wrong. Maybe there was meddling, but by the time we get there and people say these things out loud, Gaddafi is already dead. Libya is already destroyed. Open slave markets are still shipping Africans into the Middle East.
So when they do that, don't think it's just an innocent smear campaign. No, they have a reason. They start with that. I think the one thing that I'm so happy about is because now we know the story. We know the story, so we are not going to fall for that again, guys. So stop this nonsense of smearing our leaders, smearing, Traoré and, the president of Mali Goïta, and also, what's his name again? Tiani. Stop that, because we are not going to believe it, okay? Because this leaders has done in 2 or 3 years what most African leaders have failed to do for like how long? Maybe 3 decades. And to top that off, even the Western leaders that have been in control of this country, like France and so on, has not even done what these leaders have done in 3 years. They could not even do that in 5 decades that they have been controlling these countries. So we are not going to believe it, okay? So guys, I'm going to put another video again, and then you make your own conclusion on what's going on.
2 days ago, a 316-page report landed on the desk of every Western newsroom, every think tank, every policy office in Brussels, Washington, and Paris. The timing was deliberate, the target was clear, and the playbook, if you have been paying attention, is one that Africa has seen before. Human Rights Watch released a report titled "None Can Run Away," accusing the Burkina Faso military, its allied civilian militia, and an Al-Qaeda-linked armed group of killing more than 1,800 civilians between 2023 and 2020.
Okay, so now that we addressed that part of this video, now let's listen to what's going on with the ceasefire. I don't know whether you guys can believe this, but that ceasefire is actually gone. There's no ceasefire again, because what happened while they were still kind of just digesting the ceasefire, you know what happened? That country that we don't want to mention, we're going to call it Israel or Israeli. Israeli actually bombed Lebanon and 254 people died. So, you know, like, that ceasefire is gone. I want you to listen to these two videos and then we can come back.
I actually think that is a reasonable misunderstanding, but neither us nor the Israelis said that that was going to be part of the ceasefire.
The Trump administration, including J.D. Vance, have completely lied to the American people. The 2-week ceasefire with Iran included a stop to Israeli aggression and Israel's assault on Lebanon. But Netanyahu wanted to continue carpet bombing Lebanon. And so as a result, he jeopardized the 2-week ceasefire by doing just that. Then you have J.D. Vance and the Trump administration coming out to pretend as though the ceasefire did not cover Lebanon at all. And that's just not true.
All right, the ceasefire was all BS. Immediately, Israel continued to bomb residential and civilian targets in Lebanon. This seems to be a feature and not a bug of Israeli aggression, where they attack innocent civilians. And here is some video of this continued bombing by Israel with a financial assist from the United States of America. And speaking of unqualified, we have our vice president, America's biggest prostitute, J.D. Vance, our little smoky eye sociopath. And here he is talking about the negotiated, I say in quotations, ceasefire. Play the clip.
Iran wants to let this negotiation fall apart in a conflict where they were getting hammered over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them and which the United States never once said was part of the ceasefire. That's ultimately their choice. We think that would be dumb, but that's their choice.
Mr. Vice President.
Okay, Lebanon was a part of the ceasefire. J.D. Vance, you guys, as much as we all want Trump removed, we have to keep our focus on how diabolical and what a prostitute J.D. Vance is.
Netanyahu making plain in a speech yesterday that he does not want the war to end, that he does not think the war is ending, and that he remains ready to go back in and accomplish their quote-unquote objectives. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
And Israel is stronger than ever. This is the bottom line of this campaign up until now. Let me say, there are still additional objectives for us to achieve, and we will achieve them either by agreement or by resumption of the fighting.
The next one up on the screen that just has the direct quote here, he says the truce is, quote, not the end of the war, but a stop on the way to achieving all our goals.
Got it.
And of course, Israel already doing what they can to destroy, this quote unquote ceasefire. They have he, of course, was very influential. We know he was in the Situation Room, apparently at the head of the table, making the hard sell for this war, which Donald Trump chose to, go along with, and has also reportedly been one of the most hawkish people in the administration in terms of wanting to pursue this absolute insanity. And that is not going to change. Israel is going to continue trying to destroy the ceasefire, trying to blow up any potential negotiations that could end the war. And even if there is some sort of agreement which is reached in the short term, they will never stop trying to undermine it and try to go back to war.
Right.
Because as much as this is a strategic defeat for us, I mean, it's a disaster for the Israelis, especially in their way of thinking, because they have no interest in coexistence and trying to live peaceably with their neighbors.
Well,
So I think one of the things that I like right now in this time is that now most citizens are not taking or are not siding with their leaders when their leaders are doing bad things. Obviously, I won't talk like on behalf of all the citizens, but I think most citizens, most Americans obviously, are definitely not siding with what's going on in their own country. And that is a good thing, because usually leaders will do this and then the citizen back them up and so on. And that's what create, like, for example, during the Gaddafi assassination, I think it's because we haven't been enlightened the way we are now. From the divided states to even most Africans, I think we believe Gaddafi was so bad. But we realize now that no, we are not saying Gaddafi was innocent in whatever, he had his own faults and so on. But why are we allowing people that are not even good in their own country to dictate what people should do in their own country, right? For example, even Maduro. I'm not saying Maduro is a perfect president, but who the hell is Donald Trump for him to decide that Maduro is not good enough for his own citizens? Is he good enough? Is Donald Trump good enough for Americans? Of course, most Americans now don't want anything to do with him, right? Especially after the Epstein files, because you know what, guys? I don't have to say a lot, but most people know that something is going on with the Epstein files, and I think Donald Trump don't know how to handle it. Anyway, guys, from me, Jehovah, thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing. Please subscribe and obviously push that notification button so that every time when we have a new video, you can obviously be notified. So, guys, take care. Bye.
Isizwe sama,